Welcome to the High Performance Interviews. Today I am joined by Leslie Kuster. Welcome, Leslie.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Fantastic. And you're speaking to us from where in America?
Yes, I am in sunny Florida right now. So it's like 84 degrees or something like that. So yes, we used to live in Europe, in Switzerland. I know you're over in Europe also, so it's a huge change.
Yeah. We can see by our clothes that we're wearing that it's different by
Right,
many degrees, right?
exactly. It's true, exactly.
Okay, well, before we get started, I just want to introduce you and share a little bit about you with our audience. So, Leslie is a successful businesswoman and she has an amazing clothing brand called Back From Bali. I'm sure she's going to tell us more about that. She's also written a book to help female entrepreneurs called Seven Keys to Seven Figures, and we're going to definitely learn some more about that. She started a live stream show in the middle of 2024, and the purpose of the show is to give other women entrepreneurs a place to be visible and to share their story. So, for the moment, though, Leslie, you're going to be sharing your story with us on here. And I'm
Yes.
excited because we've chatted a little bit, so I know a little bit. But where did it all begin?
It began with a feeling that I just don't want to get a job anymore and work for somebody else. And that was really my motivation to start the business. I had been working in New York City in corporate and doing public relations for different big corporations, went traveling to Indonesia. I like looked, I remember I wanted to go traveling. I wanted to do a big trip. I was in my early 30s. And I looked on the map and I saw this group of islands on the map, like Java, Bali, all this. And I thought, I want to go there. And that's what I did. And I went traveling and I had an incredible experience, went for a few months, returned back to the US and needed to get a job, because I had quit my job. And I mean, Lucy, I just didn't want to get a job. And I remember looking through the newspaper, which is what you did back then, and there was just not one thing there that attracted me. And then I had one of those light bulb moments that went like, I remember seeing this beautiful clothing when I was traveling there. And I wonder if I brought it back to the United States and sold it at street fairs or markets or wholesale. I wonder if it would work. And the feeling of not getting a job was so strong in me that I just literally thought, if I don't do this, if I don't give it a try, I'll never know. And I literally jumped back on a plane and went back to Indonesia, stuffed like a duffel bag full of clothing that I had bought off the street, brought it back, and that is actually how my business was born a very long time ago. So we're talking about now over 20 years ago when I first did that.
Oh my goodness, I love that story.
Yeah.
Stuffed your duffel bag and brought it back and sold it at fairs. And then where
Yeah.
did it go from there? Because I think you've scaled it a lot since then.
I did scale it a lot, but not for a very long time. And that's really my message to everybody. I
Mm.
did start a business and I did start it in the way I mentioned, but I did fair. Okay. I did it. It was not an extremely successful business. And to me, for example, I never really got it over $100,000 in yearly revenue. And I'm not talking about money in my pocket. I just mean the sales of the business. And it was like that for a really long time. We're talking about 18, 19, 20 years even of I did okay. I was able to pay for some nice vacations. I was able to buy, some clothing, this and that, but it wasn't a really super successful business. And around about 10 years ago, I had a real feeling inside myself that I was really underplaying who I was
Mm.
and that I felt very disappointed in myself. And I just knew I was a lot smarter than I was appearing in the world. And I made a very conscious decision that enough is enough. And I am not waking up on my next birthday not doing over 100,000 a year in the business. And that's what happened. And that's what kind of ricocheted me into the successful business I have now, which now does multiple seven figures. So I was really able to scale the business, but it came from a decision inside myself to make it happen.
And I've heard that decision thing many, many times where people
Mhm.
say it's just a decision. You just make that decision and then things happen. I think there's a bit more to it than that. So, what else would you say is more to, yeah, the first thing is the decision.
Mhm.
What else is there? Is there mindset? Did you get some coaching? Once you'd made the decision, what were then those steps that happened?
Yeah, and that isn't that the answer to it? So as we all know, there are many things, and to build a successful business, it's almost like micro steps that you do, and you just don't give up. You do this and you do this, and then you do this and you do this, and then over time, all of a sudden, you have a boulder rolling down the other side. And this is what I did first, is I didn't know anything of how to do this. Like I had no clue whatsoever. And for some reason in that magical universe that things happen, I heard about a conference that specialized. First of all, I just want to tell people what my business is exactly. So
Yeah.
I manufacture women's clothing in Indonesia, which is where the business started. And I bring it into the US and I sell primarily on Amazon.com. So at the time of this decision, I was selling on Amazon, but as I said, sales were not great. So I heard about an Amazon conference that was in Seattle, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go to it. So what do? You first take some action. And I went to the conference and I was blown away because I met people who were doing $40,000 a day on Amazon. I now do multiple of that. But at the time, I just couldn't even believe that could even be possible. And while I was there was a speaker. And afterwards, there was a huge group of people around her because, she was so inspiring and had so much information. And I got her card and it said Lisa Satora, consultant, e-commerce consultant. And I took her card and I went back home and I did what most people do, which is nothing.
Yeah. I was going to say, put the card in a little pot.
You put the card in a little box and you feel all excited about the conference and oh my God, and all this stuff. And then you don't really do anything. And it was actually my husband, Heinz, a few months later, said to me, remember that lady you met? And I contacted her, had my first session. And it always makes me laugh this because in our first session that I had with her, she said to me, I would love to help you build your brand. And I said, what brand? Like I never even, we're like, what? Like Lululemon has a brand and Ralph Lauren has a brand. And I don't have a brand. I just go to Bali and buy stuff. So immediately everything changed. The mindset of who I was, if I had a brand, all of this changed. And that was really the first huge step that I took was to get the guidance. And so, yes, hiring a consultant, a coach to guide you through the next steps, because as we all know, we really, truly don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. And you presumably with her help and her guidance and her knowledge and her background moved lightning speed, I should imagine, from that previous 20 years to the next steps in your business and breaking through to that next level. So how did that feel? What came about there, Leslie?
Well, possibility. And so, immediately within that year, the business did go over 100,000. I think it actually went to 150 or 200, and then the next year to 400 and 700. So it just continued to grow. How did it feel? Well, honestly, when it got over 100,000, I remember thinking, oh my God, 250 that would be my ultimate goal. And I don't need any more than that. That's kind of the way I was thinking. And then you get to 250 and then you realize there could be 400. And So what does it do to you? It completely blasts you out of your identity of who you think you were and or have been. And that's probably one of the biggest changes that happened to me because my perception of myself was not someone who would ever have a multiple seven-figure business.
Mm.
So many things change with when that starts to happen.
And did you change the way, not only that you felt, did you change the way you were showing up out there in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, which is my message so much is to encourage women to make money. And I speak a lot about making money because really, it really is the independence that it will give women. And without making money and making money the focus of your business, my experience of myself was that it doesn't really happen. It doesn't really happen on its own. So with this money that came, what actually came was a feeling of empowerment, control over my life, a feeling of being able of all possibilities that come to us, which is why it's so important for women who are business owners to really understand that they're not in a hobby business, that this is a real business. And real businesses take putting on your big girl panties, as Ali Brown, one of my mentors, always says, and really running a business and understanding income statements and net profits and all of these things. And that's what changed in me because I was not that kind of person before. I was,
Mm.
as they call it, a money person.
And so those beliefs that you weren't that kind of person changed, presumably, because again, that's a decision, isn't it? I can learn this. I'm not going to let it get me and it's not going to let it stop me. I'm going to learn it and I can do it. And so again, having that guidance from your coach was very empowering for you.
Yeah, it was huge. And again, the reason why I was able to take action and keep going is because I wanted it so badly. I mean, I really was so sick of feeling unempowered, dependent on my husband or anyone else to give me, a nice life. I was so tired of that weakness feeling of not having complete control over my life.
Mhm.
And so when I started to grow like this and the possibilities, the opportunities kept coming, it's like thrilling. It's really thrilling because you realize you can do anything. You could bring your business anywhere you want it to go. It's not limited. And yes, it has so much to do with mindset and belief. And I worked a lot on mindset when this was happening because when that decision happened, I realized that I had been so stuck in a mindset of that it wasn't my responsibility to really do well. It was somebody else's responsibility to do it, not my responsibility. And that's how I was raised by my mother, and my brothers were always given much more in terms of that way, but not me as the girl in the family. This is still common, actually. And right.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I've got three
I
brothers. I'm the girl.
I've
I
seen
hear
that,
you. I hear
right?
you.
Right. And so I didn't have that image of myself that that was even something I was supposed to be doing. I asked myself in that moment of decision, well, why not? Like, why don't I? I really asked myself, why am I thinking this? And I started to realize that I had a lot of blocks about a mindset blocks. Like, for example, I used to think I wanted a lot of freedom. And so if I want freedom, then building a successful business will limit that. All right. I'll have to work too much. So, I have to work too much and I want freedom. So therefore, I rather have freedom than working too much. Right. Or I am a spiritual person. Success is not important. I'd rather be a spiritual person than be successful. I felt there was a choice to make.
Yeah, yeah.
And one day I wrote all those choices down, and I recommend doing this. Write down all of your, I want to be this, I want to be this, but that. And I changed the but to and. I'm a spiritual person and I'm very successful, right? I make tons of money and I have so much freedom. All of these mindset things, I worked very, very hard on it, on my mindset and on my thoughts, and used all kinds of post-its around my home and everything to remind myself.
I love that. And it is, it's so much, if everything begins with your mindset, it's not just you go on that path and everything is in that direction. I'm sure you found sometimes you were dropping back into old ways of thinking and old patterns and self-doubt and why me? And can I really do that? Is that not, oh gosh, there's my thinking. And you have to catch yourself doing it and then
Yes.
go, okay, let me turn that one around. Of course I can do it. And if it's for other people, it's also for me because we're all just people, right? And and I've made the decision. So working on yourself all the time, it's not just a one-time thing. It's like you said, you worked really hard, but it is one of those things that you just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. Do you still find you have to do that, Leslie, every now and again?
Yes, absolutely. But I also realize at this point in my career and my business, I have so much history
Mm.
that I was speaking actually to my husband Heinz about this morning, that once you get over the initial years of building a business, I mean, after, let's call it after 5 years or 7 years or something like that, and you have some history behind you, you do not fall into that so much any longer, because you know that it has happened. Like, for example, when you first start your business and you want to make any money whatsoever, and say you want to make 5,000 euro, pounds, dollars, or whatever it is, and you haven't made any whatsoever, it's hard at that moment to believe you will. And
Mm.
that's where having, perseverance and belief and mindset and all that stuff comes in so strongly. Once you start to build the business and you see momentum, then you can actually use history to look back on the months, the years, whatever, that it all did actually work out, as long as you kept working and steering the business. Because as a business owner, as a CEO of your business, and if you have a business, you are the CEO of your business, you're like a captain in the ship. And the ship hits a lot of rocky waters, and sometimes it stalls and all of that. And that does happen. But because you have experience as the captain, you know it will work out. And so, to answer your question, do I still have those mindset issues? Not anywhere as much as I had at the beginning, because I do have some history and belief. Now, do I go through really tough periods? Has it gotten so easy? No. Has there been huge challenges? Yes. Um, that hasn't changed. That part hasn't changed. But I have confidence in myself now.
Mm. And they become different level challenges. Do you find
Yeah.
it's like a different level challenge, right?
Yes,
There's still
sure.
might be a money challenge, but it's on a different level because it's like when you get that money, it's like where does it all go? How do you invest it? So they're just different level challenges as you grow and higher and higher.
But there's still challenges.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So don't expect them to go away. It's
Mm-mm.
you've just become better at dealing with them and you understand that they're going to come up. So you know you're going to be able to deal with them. And then one of the question that popped into my head was, did you also, as you were going along there, you're saying your affirmations, you're working on your mindset, were you also visualizing how your business was going to look and how you were going to be in the future? And if so, how far ahead were you looking? Was it like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, my vision for my business has always been around two words, which is freedom and money. That has always been my vision that I've had.
Mm.
So what does that mean? So the freedom meant that I really did not want to be working crazy hours all the time. And with the definition of an entrepreneur is something that will work 200 hours a week for themselves instead of 40 hours a week for somebody else, right? So I didn't want to do that. And that's something that you fall into very easily because there's so many things to do.
Mm.
So vision, which you mentioned, is unbelievably important to know what your vision is. And in my case, my vision always was that I wanted to live a life where I had as much freedom as I possibly could, meaning that I didn't have to work crazy hours. I could live where I want, I could travel when I wanted to, and I had the money from the business to support that lifestyle. So that
Mm.
was always my vision for my business. So it always was tied into a money goal and into a practical goal of looking at my operations and who is doing certain tasks and how can I pass that on to other people and make it more freedom for myself.
Yeah.
So it's a really important question you had of what is your vision? And that for me always was it, freedom and money.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And so creating that, and I hear from what you're saying, it's like you started to build a team around you of people that would take those parts away because they could do those. You didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Presumably, what would you say? Because I think I always feel like the idea of the entrepreneur is to be able to just do the one thing that they only can do, that nobody else could do, rather than all of the other things that other people can do and they don't particularly want to do. So, what would you say is your number one skill, love, passion within your business that you're the one that does it?
Yeah, when I first went to Bali to do this, I really did fall in love with the people and the clothing and the culture there. And so that continues to be what I really love. So basically, it's called sourcing, finding the products, finding the clothes, designing the clothes, changing the clothes, and working with my vendors there is the one thing that I really love. And also, I'm pretty good at analysis, and I like to do a lot of analysis of like spreadsheets and Excel. Of my consultant actually said something to me many years ago. By the way, I still work with her, the same one over
Ah,
10 years ago.
oh, wow,
I
fantastic.
still work with her. In fact, she even works for me now. She's part of my team. And she said something to me years ago, which I never forgot, which she said, don't ever fall in love with your products.
Mm,
And to anyone listening who doesn't sell products, but basically has, like you, has a service-based business as a coach and you have programs or whatever, don't ever fall in love with your programs. So what that means is what I'm good at is I'm good at looking at a spreadsheet of my products or programs and really analyzing what is working and what isn't working because your customer, your clients, always are communicating with you by what they're interested in.
mm.
So, right? And a lot of times we don't listen to this because we want to sell the whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
and
a
we
good
love it.
program, right? I work so hard on it and it's really good. Why doesn't anybody know it? Or I make a dress and use a fabric and like, this is gorgeous. Why is nobody buying it? Well, guess what? Nobody's buying it. And so we have to really pay attention to this. So this is
Mm.
something that I'm good at is noticing this and noticing the trends of it. And it's really in the numbers. And I speak about it in my book, Seven Keys to Seven Figures. Know thy numbers because the numbers are speaking to you all the time and telling you what the customer, what your clients are wanting from you.
It's so true. Yeah, I love that. It's like be in love with what you do, but not the specific thing in what you're doing or the specific product. You're in love with the clothing side, but not one particular item of clothing. So
Yeah.
that's a really great piece of advice. So we're going to come on to your book because
Yes.
I would love you to share more about, we can see it in the background there, Seven Keys to Seven Figures. Share more about that, Leslie, because I think that a lot of people are going to want to grab that off the shelf.
Yeah, I've built my business. I also have a master's in clinical social work and have a really strong interest in self-development and women empowerment. And I like teaching, like sharing and motivating and things. And one day, honestly, I was like, how did I do this? I mean, my God, like how in the world? I was in my early 50s when I really changed everything. How did I do it? I don't have a business degree. I really did not have experience in this profession. I'm not a techie. I'm in e-commerce, selling online. I don't even know how to design. I'm not a designer at all. So how in the world did I build a multiple seven-figure business? So
Yeah.
I started to ask myself that question, and that is why I wrote my book, because I knew that the answer to that question will help so many other women entrepreneurs who were struggling like me. I was struggling, I was struggling and I really didn't know how to do it or what to do. Or at early on, I didn't even know I wanted to do it. But once I knew I wanted to do it, I certainly didn't know how to do it. The book is called 7 Keys to 7 Figures because I realized there were pretty much 7 things that I did. And we spoke about one of them already, the first one, which is really wanting it, like really, really, really wanting it is the key number one. And then there's 7 keys that are in this book. And the book is for women entrepreneurs who need a bit of a kick up their butt, okay? And also, also need some very practical guidance on how to do it. I share a lot of personal stories of losses, of miscarriages and deaths and different things that have happened to me in my life because all of those difficult experiences were what really ricocheted me into my life and what I learned. So it's a very accessible book too, and I've been told a fairly easy read.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So, if you're wanting to get the book, it's going to be in the description box below here, as will the link to your Amazon site as well, Leslie. So, all of the details are going to be below so that you can link with Leslie. And with the book, is there another one following it? Was that the one book that was inside you? Do you feel there's something else coming up as well?
I don't know yet if there will be another book or not. What I do love, what came out of the book was because of the book. I was on a lot of podcasts, and I also started to interview for my book other women entrepreneurs, and I realized, my God, I love this, and that's how you and I, Lucy, connected. Also, like I love, love, love speaking with other women entrepreneurs. So I had an idea when the book launched, why don't I just continue to do that? So I started a live stream show. So in a way, this is the continuation of my book. And
Mm.
my live stream show is called She Rises. So we go live on it. And as you said in the introduction, I interview other women entrepreneurs who want to be visible and share their story. And I'm really enjoying doing that because women are incredible. And just for other women to also hear what is possible. And that is so much my story too. It is so possible, whatever you want. Like at age is not an issue at all. Knowledge is not an issue at all. It just isn't. It's whether you really want it. And if you do really want it, there is help out there to get you to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it doesn't mind the background either. It's those are just reasons we give ourselves for not doing something. As
Exactly.
soon as we get over the reason and make it a reason why, even though I come from that background, or even because I come from that background, I'm going to change it 180 degrees and I'm going to make sure that I go in the other direction and I'm successful. Or, women aren't allowed to speak up. So I'm going to make sure I do speak up. So that's wonderful. So it's been absolutely awesome speaking with you, Leslie. I so enjoyed it. And I know that we're going to have another conversation. I think it's
We are.
January. Yes.
Yes, you're going to be on She Rises. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you very much to our audience for listening in. There will be another video coming up on screen, so I'll see you over there. In the meantime, have an absolutely awesome day. And thank you, Leslie, for joining us and for sharing your story. It's been amazing.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody.